The warning did not come from abroad or from foreign observers. It was not issued by competing nations or external critics analyzing China from a distance. Instead, it emerged from within the country itself, when an economist linked to the state spoke openly on camera and admitted a truth long concealed by the system. He acknowledged that China's debt has expanded to a level nearly equal to the nation's entire economic output, not a portion of it, but almost the full GDP. The burden has become so immense that any new money injected into the economy is instantly absorbed, vanishing under the weight of this financial pull. What followed that admission was even more unsettling. Because this is not a story about runaway inflation or a collapsing currency. This is a story about money flooding the economy on a historic scale, and nothing happening. No meaningful recovery. No surge in consumer spending. No return of confidence. Just silence, hesitation, and economic paralysis. And in modern economics, that silence is often more dangerous than panic. Over the past several years, China has carried out one of the most aggressive monetary expansions ever seen in a major economy. The scale is so large that it feels almost unreal. At the end of 2021, China's broad money supply, known as M2, stood at roughly 238 trillion yuan. By 2025, that figure had surged beyond 335 trillion yuan, with projections pushing it even higher. Nearly 100 trillion yuan created in a very short period of time. This was not slow, organic growth. It was emergency-level monetary expansion. No other major economy has done this. Not the United States. Not the Eurozone. Not Japan. Not during wars, pandemics, or financial crises. China expanded its money supply faster, harder, and more consistently than anyone else. On paper, this should have triggered a powerful rebound. Instead, the opposite happened. Despite the flood of liquidity, China's GDP barely moved in real terms, hovering near 140 trillion yuan. This pushed the M2 to GDP ratio above 230%, a level economists consider extremely dangerous. It means money is being created far faster than real goods, services, and value. According to textbook economics, this kind of imbalance should ignite inflation, fuel asset bubbles, and drive markets into frenzy. But China did not get inflation. It got stagnation. Consumer prices barely moved. Core inflation remained weak. Housing prices declined month after month. Private investment collapsed. Business confidence faded. The economy was not overheating. It was slowly starving. So the obvious question emerges. Where did all that money go? It didn't disappear. It was absorbed, trapped, and neutralized inside the system itself. Massive internal forces began pulling that money inward, preventing it from ever reaching ordinary people or productive businesses. One of the biggest forces is debt. China's local governments are buried under obligations accumulated over decades. Infrastructure splurges, reliance on land sales, and hidden borrowing through off-balance sheet vehicles created a debt structure so large that it now consumes most new funding. When hidden liabilities are included, total local government debt rivals the size of the entire economy. Add corporate debt. Add central government obligations. Together, total debt climbs far beyond safe levels. At this point, the system must create new money simply to avoid collapse. Most new liquidity no longer supports growth. It services old debt. Borrowing has turned into survival, not investment. At the same time, the financial system itself has slowed to a crawl. Banks continue lending. Balance sheets expand. Deposits rise. M2 keeps increasing. But the money is not circulating. Banks lend to government-linked entities. Those entities use the funds to repay maturing debt. The money flows straight back into banks. On paper, activity rises. In reality, nothing changes. The money multiplier has collapsed. New credit no longer creates jobs, factories, or consumption. It recycles itself inside the financial system. Households sense this stagnation and respond with fear. Savings surge. Spending collapses. Families hoard cash, worried about unemployment, healthcare costs, education expenses, pensions, and falling home values. Surveys show most households have no intention of making major purchases for years. Businesses behave the same way. Many companies borrow not to expand, but simply to survive, or even to redeposit the money back into banks. Nearly 60% of China's money supply is effectively frozen. And when money stops moving, economies slowly suffocate. Meanwhile, infrastructure spending continues at full speed. Massive projects rise across the country: railways, highways, industrial parks, and entire new districts. They absorb enormous amounts of capital, but their economic returns shrink with each passing year. Many projects generate no meaningful cash flow. Some remain unfinished. Others turn into empty cities. The spending looks impressive, but it deepens debt and worsens deflation. Quietly, capital also begins to leave. Wealthy individuals move assets abroad. Overseas property, foreign stocks, and alternative currencies become escape routes. Controls tighten. Scrutiny increases. Penalties rise. But confidence, once broken, is difficult to restore. The outflow continues, silently draining the system. At the same time, wealth becomes increasingly concentrated. New money flows toward state-linked corporations, favored industries, and financial speculation. Small and medium-sized private businesses are shut out of financing. Loan approvals collapse. Consumption shrinks further. Millions shift into survival mode, buying only essentials. Consumer spending falls to dangerously low levels for an economy of China's size. And this leads to the final truth. China does not suffer from a shortage of money. It suffers from money that no longer functions. A system where debt rivals GDP. Where liquidity fuels stagnation. Where fear overrides spending. Where growth exists mainly on paper. The warning has already come from inside the system itself. What remains uncertain is how long this fragile balance can last before something finally breaks.